Shia Islam resulted from a dispute over whether or not Muhammad appointed his son-in-law Ali to be caliph. Remember, after a long wait, Ali became the fourth caliph, but he was assassinated in the year 661. Shia consider Ali to be the first and greatest follower of Muhammad. They give him titles like Lord of the Faithful, Lion of God, and King of Men. They cry out that there's no hero but Ali and no sword but his Zulfikar, the special double-tipped sword which appears in this recent devotional image. Shias will invoke Ali. They'll call out to him and say, "O Ali, help me." After Ali's death, the Shia asserted that his eldest son Hassan should lead the community, but he was bribed and pressured into retirement, where 8 years later he either naturally died or was poisoned. Hassan was a grandson of Muhammad, and they believed that a special kind of spiritual gift had been passed down from Muhammad to Ali to Hassan. The Shia then promoted Ali's second son, Hussein, who was then the only surviving grandson of Muhammad. But when Hussein refused to recognize the mainstream recognized caliph Yazid I, who was the son of Muawiyah, Hussein and 200 of his men were surrounded in Karbala, Iraq, and 10 days later they were all killed. His tomb in Karbala, Iraq, became a major shrine for Shia. They call him Prince of the Martyrs and compare his suffering to the suffering of Jesus. Professor Vali Nasser writes, quote, Hussein became not only Shiism's flag-bearer, symbolizing its claim to leadership of the Islamic world, but also a byword for chivalry and courage in the just cause of standing up to tyranny. Shiism is defined by its passion for Hussein, whose martyr's death is the dramatic experience that lies at the beating heart of Shia devotionalism. End quote. After Hussein was killed, he was decapitated, and today Egyptians claim that Hussein's head is buried in Cairo, Egypt. There's a mosque there called Sayyidina Hussein, Our Lord Hussein Mosque. This battle was witnessed by Hussein's sister Zainab. She went along with the victorious forces that took his decapitated head to Damascus, Syria. She protested their treatment and ended up preserving the life of Hussein's son Ali, who would become the next Shia Imam. It's she who bore witness to the events of Karbala. Again, Professor Vali Nasser observes, quote, Women like Zainab and her mother Fatima played major parts in Shia history and fill a role in Shia piety not unlike the one that the Virgin Mary plays in the popular devotionalism of Catholic and Orthodox Christianity. Zainab lived most of her life in Cairo, and a mosque popular with women sits where her home once stood. She is buried in Damascus. Her shrine, the Mosque of Sayyida Zainab, Lady Zainab, is a popular place for Shia pilgrims to visit. End quote. His death didn't end the movement. In fact, it just strengthened their resolve. They claim more strongly than ever that the Sunni caliphate was illegitimate and that Ali and his 2 sons had been martyred. The disagreement is a strong one. Twelver Shia regularly curse the first 3 caliphs of the Sunni tradition during their Friday prayers. And they remember and proclaim and agonize about the martyrdom of especially Hussein, but also Ali and Hassan, in a yearly festival that we'll discuss when we talk about Islamic practice. So his suffering is a major focus of the tradition. But what are the differences and disagreements between Shia Islam and the Sunni majority? The Shia have different hadith collections. They think the Sunni hadith were not fairly collected, but they were twisted so as to favor Sunni views about leadership, and specifically to promote Umayyad claims to leadership and the caliphate. Another difference is the central place of pilgrimage to tombs of martyrs. Many would say these are more important in Shia Islam than even the famous Hajj pilgrimage, or they're at least almost as important. Again, Professor Nasser, quote, Shias believe that their shrines are locations of spiritual grace, barakah, where God is present in a special way and most likely to answer cries for help. They seek blessings from these shrines and pray to saints to heal them and grant them their wishes. They believe that the shrines will imbue them with divine blessings and cleanse their souls, end quote. And this is generally not a practice in Sunni Islam. There are some differences in how they do their call to prayer, in their ablutions, that is, their ritual washings, and in some other details of practice of prayer, such as what posture they stand in, how they hold their hands. These things seem like minor details to outsiders, but to the Sunni majority, the Shia just aren't doing it right. A central difference of belief is belief in an infallible imam and submission to such. This man has to be a descendant of Ali, and he's infallible, that is, incapable of error. He's sinless, and even can know the future. He has some special divine knowledge that he's inherited from Muhammad and Ali and the earlier imams. At the popular level, sometimes they believe he can't be harmed, he casts no shadow. Some would even view him as divine or close to it. For others, he's more the status of a prophet. What an imam is the ultimate authority in all religious matters. Controversially, in the wider Muslim world, in Twelver Shi'ism, they allow temporary marriage, which is just what it sounds like, except also the woman gets paid. In his book Shi'ism, scholar Heinz Halm writes, "A well-known peculiarity of Imami law, that is, Twelver Shi'ism, is temporary marriage by contract in exchange for a precisely fixed sum given to the woman. This temporary marriage, called in Arabic mut'ah, enjoyment, was apparently an old Arabian pagan institution which was still practiced by the Prophet and some of his companions, but then abrogated, that is, overruled by a later divine revelation." Halm continues, "As in the case of the formula of the call to prayer, the Shiites here, too, reproach Caliph Umar for willfully having changed a practice approved by the Prophet, and refer to the Quranic verse 424, quote, 'When you have had your enjoyment of them in legitimate intercourse, then give them their reward as a duty,' end quote." Halm continues, "Numerous sayings of the Imams who expressly approved of the marriage of pleasure, and thus regulate details connected with it, are transmitted. The Sunnis, Ismailis, and Zaydis, on the other hand, reject mut'ah as scarcely concealed prostitution. Modern controversies over the permissibility of mut'ah, however, appear to be more or less theoretical. It is not practiced by the Arab Shiites of Lebanon and Iraq, and even in Iran its social significance appears to be very slight." End quote. Nonetheless, it does occur, and there are cases of Shia leaders arguing that it's a good and necessary practice. It's a way for the young to relieve their passions and things like that. But this is strongly disapproved of by the Sunni majority. Another notorious practice within Shi'ism is called Takea. This is the doctrine that one can lie about one's own religious views during persecution. Or people who don't like the word lie say it's a doctrine of dissimulation, which means lying. This is a way that the Shia survived through many centuries of persecution. It's been typical in Islamic history for them to be persecuted by the Sunni majority. Of course, it always depends on the specific king and kingdom. Another difference is belief in the Mahdi Imam. All Shia groups believe that some imam or other has gone into hiding, but will someday return and do great things. The title Mahdi means divinely guided one, and in their day Muhammad, Ali, and his sons were all called by that title. But later it came to mean something different, a messianic figure. They believe that when he comes back he will restore the political power and the religious purity of Islam. Because of that view, various Islamic rulers and conquerors have adopted the title Mahdi, one of the most famous of these being the founder of the Fatimid dynasty. That was one of the smaller dynasties which was located in Egypt, and that lasted up till the year 1171. Let's take a look now at the two most important sects within the Shia world. The biggest groups of Shia in the world now are the Seveners and the Twelvers, and those are the two that we're going to talk about. And those groups are so called because of the lineages of Imams that they recognize. The Sevener lineage goes like this. First there's Ali. He's not the first Imam. He has a special status as the prime follower of Muhammad. The first Imam is Hassan, and then the younger brother Hussein, the famous martyr that they so focus on. And after that, the list goes like this. There's a mistake on this chart. They're called the Ismailis, but they don't think that he's the seventh. That's not right. The seventh is Ismail's son Muhammad, so the chart should look like this. That's as far as the lineage of inspired imams go, according to the Seveners. Muhammad went into hiding and will someday come back as the Mahdi Imam. The Twelvers count imams like this. The first imam for them is Ali, then his sons Hassan and Hussein, and then the rest in this series. But they disagree at what they count as the sixth one, and so the series looks like this. So for them, Muhammad al-Mahdi, full name is really not Muhammad the Mahdi, but rather Muhammad al-Muntazar. That is the last infallible imam that there's been, and he disappeared in the year 878. That's when he went into hiding at the ripe old age of 5. But he'll come back someday as the Mahdi Imam and set the stage for the triumph of Islam and for God's last judgments. The Twelvers, also called Imami Shia, are about 4/5 of the Shia in the world today, which makes them about 12% of all Muslims. They're minorities in various countries. Their most important country is Iran, where they're the majority. And Iran in recent times has reformed its government to be a truly Islamic government, and it's a unique hybrid of secular and religious rulers. But the Shia legal scholars play an important role in the government. The Seveners are now mostly in India, Pakistan, and East Africa. They once had an empire based in Egypt, the Fatima Empire, which was founded by a caliph claiming to be the Mahdi. Apart from their unique claimed lineage of 7 Imams, they have some other differences. They hold to elaborate cosmologies and secret esoteric doctrines. That is, they believe in hidden interpretations of the Quran, which is only revealed to the most spiritual. Because of this, they've been compared by many scholars to some of the Gnostic groups which competed with early mainstream Christianity. They think history is cyclical and goes through 7 periods, each with a prophet, followed by a lawgiver, and 7 imams. They say that now we're in the 6th of the 7 cycles, and the 7th cycle will be ruled by the Mahdi Imam, that disappeared 7th Imam, when he comes back. In our next and last segment of this lecture, Sufism.